Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Science Thursday, we're going to talk about 3D printer. So I have already made a detailed video about 3D printers, but this is the actual hands-on. Now, before this video comes online, I have already made a video about aluminum 2020 extrusions. Now, this whole printer is made by that, and you can be damn sure there are many printers who are utilizing the same architecture. That is why I was so excited about aluminum 2020. And soon I will be trying to build my own 3D printer from scratch, like from my design. And of course, I'm not gonna make the main board or the firmware like that. Those things are open source and available freely right now, so that should not be too much of an issue. At least I'm hoping for that. But again, I will build my own 3D printer because these printers are, well, what we call cheap and best. They're not best of the best. They are not designed for that. They're not even made for that. And 3D printer does not have that kind of margin where this printer would be like, even if let's say the building cost is $100, they're going to sell you it for $200 for one simple reason. They have to make profit, and they're not expecting to sell like, thousands and thousands of that. So profit margin on these puppies are huge, and they have to be, otherwise there won't be a second generation of that. So this is an Ender 3. Now Ender 3 took market by whole storm. Like everybody was like blown away by this printer, simply because there are Prusa printers which are surprisingly affordable, quote unquote, and there are MakerBot, Ultimaker. Those things are like on a different level, like a few $1,000s. So again, not everybody can afford few $1,000s for something that to many people's eye is a gimmick. So people wanted something that that is not going to punch a RPG in your bank account. So Ender comes along. Now the difference between Ender and Prusa is, like, Prusa is a very well defined company. Like they build things, like their design is like, we're gonna sit down, we're gonna design the slicer software, we're gonna build everything that goes into it. So they are building it, and they are 3D printing the printer itself. So they are using metal rods and all that jazz, but joining, basically this jointing plates. Hold on, this should be possible. Yeah, this is nut based, so it's not that easy. So this sort of joining plate, that is 3D printed. So every join in Prusa printers, they are based on 3D printed plastic. Side effect of that, again, it's sloppy, because plastic itself is sloppy no matter how strongly you print it. So Ender 3 comes along, and they are using aluminum 2020. Now this itself is a very cheap system. It's available in almost every country and not that expensive. So they took that, and because of the real design, how it's the profile is managed, they put dull run wheels on it. So that wheel is acting as a bearing system, and for movement, they have for z-axis they have a belt system. For carriage movement, basically this XY movement, they have belt system. So everything is surprisingly cheap in this. So it's a very affordable printer. However, for its price, there was nothing when it came out. Like, this is a few years old at this point. There was nothing that can compete its accuracy. Basically, I bought this printer, I printed something out of it, and it worked. It's like I did not calibrate it. So basically, from internet, I downloaded a knob, rotary encoder knob. I printed it, plugged it into the encoder. It works. Like, no calibration done. Like, all I did was just level the bed. That is a very important thing you have to do, but it works. So that was mind-bogglingly awesome, because this made 3D printer something like many people can actually try that out. So, but you have to understand, even in this kind of developed, polished scenario, 3D printer is just a hassle. Like, you have to truly understand that leveling bed could take few minutes to few hours, and you have to be ready for it. Because if you do not, which I messed up in the first place, I basically had the nozzle too close to the build plate, and it punched a hole in it. Now that hole is thankfully not too deep. It did not destroy the plate, but problem was it clogged the nozzle, and the nozzle got destroyed. So I had to basically clean the nozzle, and I failed to clean it. So thankfully this Ender kit generally comes with one extra nozzle, so I used that. Then I figured out I can have the nozzle dangling in front of a candle light for like around 2-3 minutes, and it's not burn the plastic away. That cleared the nozzle. So thankfully now I have two nozzles again. So you have to understand, 3D printer is not at a place when, like, you're just gonna buy it, gonna plug a SD card, run the G code, and tada, off to the races. It's not there yet, and it might not ever be there, because this printer is not selling like hotcakes where every Tom, Dick, and Harry is buying it. Whatever, contrary to whatever you think about YouTube and all that jazz, and how much hype there is about 3D printer, look into Amazon. They are not selling that much. So they are selling, like, compared to the hype that was around 2010 2015, it's selling a lot, but not in, like, compared to mobile phones or even normal paper printers. So The primary reason for that is like, you buy this, there is a very good chance you're gonna just throw it away, simply because it's hell of a hassle and you have to be ready for it. And because of the marketing, everybody thinks, oh, this printer is ready to go. It's not. Like, even if you assemble it, and most people think like, oh, I'm gonna assemble it and it's gonna work. No, hell no. You have to calibrate it, level the bed, then print it out, then you have to figure out, oh, is under extruding or over extruding, then you have to calibrate the e steps. Whole lot of hell of a headache. Then you might have something, and then again, most of people don't think what you order, but the filament becomes an issue. Like, this puppy snacks, game over. Like, the whole print could be ruined. And to compensate for a walk bed, generally I started with printing rafts. Rafts were, waste plastics and all that jazz, but again, I needed the print to be successful, so I reutilized raft. However, that being said, you went through all the hassle, you bought a printer, it's working, everything is fine. What about next? This is where 3D printer becomes useless, because the first thing that people will do is print, like, knickknacks for the printer itself. Okay, that's awesome. Like, I also printed a fan cover for this, in knob for this and all that jazz. You do that, but what after that? There is the difference. Because I have a caliper, you have to have this, basically not digital only, you can have an analog one also, but you have to have a caliper in order to measure things accurately. What can you do if you can measure things accurately? For example, I generally do live streaming every Saturday, like on my Hindi channel, and I utilize my mobile phone as my webcam. It's better than any webcam I could buy, but problem was I had no way of mounting this. So what I did is basically made a thermocol based clamp hook, basically, so to say. And this literally was how I was streaming. Now it worked, it's a system that works, so no problem, but it blocked my whole monitor. So this was not a solution that I wanted to enjoy for, but I got a 3D printer. So I printed a clamp that allowed me to do something like this on my monitor, and I don't have to do. But again, 3D printer, so I was not happy with the design, because again, it cannot tilt backwards, so it will not fall backwards, but it can fall frontwards. So I punched a hole here in CAD modeling. I punched a hole here, or a tire string. Now that's on my monitor. Everything works. 3D printer, iterations, design, and all that jazz. Then on Thingiverse, I downloaded this 3-part mobile clamp that allows me to clamp my basically mobile phone, and whoever designed it is a surprisingly efficient design. So it can support for very, very large mobile phone. Be mindful, because I think this model is like 2015 or 16, somebody put it in Thingiverse. So back then mobile phones were very small, but right now you can see like it's almost, the screw is no longer holding on. But I printed this out, the first one break because I did not have infills on it. And this will also happen. You're gonna print like, hey, I'm gonna print something, and boom, it fails. Not mentioned, the print was successful, the plastic was not adhering because I did not have infill. And because of the lateral load, I'm trying to, tie it down, and it's like, boom, failed. So I printed it again. This happens in 3D printer. It's not like a perfect, like, sunshine and rainbow. It's not a lathe machine, it's not a CNC. So you have to treat it as such. So I printed it again. Everything is awesome, but till this point, all I am doing is just downloading things off the internet. Other than this clamp I did design, but again, it's a simple C clamp, not that fancy. Then I took on a brave challenge. I'm gonna make a clamp on my own, basically this mobile holder I designed, and the people who are on my Telegram group, they saw this being built. And this is springy based, because while this clamp does work, but again, I have to do this every day whenever I have to do live streaming. So I designed this system, and it has flexible joints. I designed this whole system. So now this puppy goes on top of any tripod system. So I can even give you a demo with this. I have a metal nut here. I may have to reprint it, because the gap wise, I made it 4mm. I should have made it 3mm. But again, that's the whole point of 3D. So now I have a clamp, but here's the deal. How the heck I'm gonna clamp the mobile in? No problem. That's the whole point. I just lay it down, done. I don't have to do anything. Open, and I have to open it directly, because it was directly made by that. And that's why I specified you have to have a caliper in order to measure your thickness and dimensions accurately. So once you reach this stage, then 3D printer is a completely different ballgame. If you are still in a stage where you have a 3D printer, you printed some knickknacks and all that jazz, and you are just roaming around and Thingiverse finding useful thing to download, you are wasting 3D printer basically. And I can guarantee you, in few weeks to few months, the 3D printer is just gonna be collecting dust. So I urge you, learn CAD. Like, CAD softwares right now, like Fusion 360 is surprisingly good, and it's free. And then if you're like, no, I want to be away from Autodesk, I can understand that. There is a other softwares like Blender, completely free, but not a CAD software, but it's good enough. You know, it's gonna get the job done. Then you can try like, you know, FreeCAD, and there are like Tinkercad, completely online software. You don't even have to think about it. So there are a lot of options, and I would urge you, please try to make something. Like, start and make something. Once you reach that point, then this will go from a gimmick or like, you know, just a novelty to actually becoming a tool. Once it at that stage, then it really starts to make money for you. Money as in like, you know, in terms of skill, knowledge and all that jazz. And depending how you monetize it, people have monetized it. Like I have one dude in my Telegram group who's like have this exact printer, and he prints basically 3D carvings of photographs. Basically take a photo, and it's called lithography or something like that. Basically you have a model and you put light behind that and it glows. It looks like, you know, three-dimensional photographs. It's quite amazing. People are making money out of that. Then like, you know, other people can do something more interesting. So I'm gonna be trying to, at least hoping to make my own 3D printer, because these printers, again, because of the profit margin and all that jazz, it's cheap and best. I don't like that idea. Like, again, it's a good learning tool. This is something that I can recommend to 99.99% of you. Like, you're gonna buy this, most of the time you're gonna get it working without too much hassle. Or do buy a basically loop, you know, 1.5 kilograms or 1 kg of a PET. That's you know, that's not too expensive. It's like 1,000 rupees in India, so it's not that expensive. You can start with that, and by the time you are done with the first you know, spool, you will be in a position where you can print reliably, accurately things and all that jazz. So I would truly urge you, design your own components, be it as small as like, you know, a compliant mechanism where you have springy joints and all that jazz. Start there, like then you can expand. Once you reach that, that's the whole point. So I'm gonna be making my own 3D, but unfortunately that's gonna cost me a lot of money to make quote unquote best of the best. Again, that's, I'm hoping for that. So I've opened up basically a UPI account. This is India's money based system. So I have S2T @UPI. You can easily donate whatever amount of money you are comfortable with. You can donate that. All that money funding will be going to directly making the printer, and don't panic too much about it, because I'm not waiting for like, you know, getting the whole like 30k or 40k rupees that I would need to make the printer. I'm just waiting for enough to get me started, and then I'm gonna, you know, use my monthly income to on that. I do make a living out of YouTube, so it's gonna be a long process, but that's what I wanted to do. That's why I wanted to make this video. It's like 3D printer is a like a very unique idea, but it was overhyped in the early you know, 2010s and all that jazz. So people already lost it. It's like, this is gonna make this and this is gonna make and all that. Again, nothing happened. Reality was like, this is such a big hassle that most people will give up by the after 1 month or something like that. And this printer is the best option. Like there are other printers that are much worse than this. So this is a surprisingly you know, weird tool that's so amazing, so powerful, but because people don't go to that, like, you know, design your own goddamn parts, they are stuck in a loop where they, okay, I'm gonna look and find something in Thingiverse and I'm gonna download something like that. That's not why you're supposed to have this. So this was my presentation and a request, so to say, for my building my own 3D, and I'm gonna share everything, like how I started the design, build, and why aluminum 2020 is awesome. Whether I like anything about this not printer or not, it uses aluminum 2020. The only thing that wears out in this printer is basically this tunnel wheels, and they are not that expensive. So you can have this printer and keep operating it for years to come. And I'm not stretching. Like, people have this running this printer for like 3-4 years already. So it's a very good system, but I want to build something even better, and I want to share with you guys. Like, I do not like this Indian mentality of like, you know, cheap and best. So I have to show it, like, you know, or at least try to, hope to. That's my hope and dream. So I made this video. I hope you liked it, learn from it. It was a bit you know, disjointed, but I apologize for that. This kind of video will be if you liked it, learn from it. In that case, please click the like button. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike. Press it twice to show me extra disappointment, and please share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you don't, no problem with that. You can also comment, because I try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.